Hi, I'm Martin Cohn. I work for the Toronto Star, and I'm not sure why I agreed to do this. It is great to be beside these folks, but when I agreed to this about a month and a half ago, I didn't realize that there would be a federal election going on, which tells you something about my own thought processes, which these people already know, which is that I'm always wrong. I didn't see this coming. I would never have agreed to it. It's a really hard act to follow federal politics at any time, and especially when there's a federal election on, and especially when we've just had a panel on before us. So we're here from Ontario. All right. I still feel like this is mission impossible, but thank you for that welcome. It actually isn't that hard to prove to you that Ontario politics matters at least as much as federal politics to people in this province. I think the real mission impossible is the challenge that you face in trying to get young people not just interested but motivated enough to vote. I am, however, going to do a survey at the end. If there's anybody, I think this panel is powerful enough to make the case that I've just made to you, that provincial politics matters more. If anyone doesn't agree at the end, we'll have a show of hands, and we'll have Mounties come out from Stephen Harper's protective detail and walk you out of the building and eject you from the premises. So
is that a partisan comment?
It is not, because you are part.
Don't walk them out. Kill them.
Well, even worse than that, they will be unfriended from their Facebook sites. But no, John Tory is from the, as I keep reminding people, from the Ontario Progressive Conservative Party, as opposed to the Federal Conservative Party.
Progressive.
Yes. So, look, I will just briefly try to set the table, and then I will try to shut up and just ask my usual softball questions of these folks, and then turn it over to you for the tougher questions, because you're teachers. The one thing I would say, really, seriously, to set the table, is that I've always believed that, and I've covered federal politics and Ontario politics in a previous life, and back in the 1980s, when I was younger than he looks now. And the truth is that Queen's Park is in charge of the things that matters more to Mr. and Mississauga. And I think that's a message you can take to your students. I mean, you think about nuclear energy, for example, nuclear power in the news now. You think about healthcare and hospitals and education. And you think in terms of students, in terms of liquor laws, beer in corner stores, which I remember from way back in the 1980s. You think about driver's licenses, roads. To you, isn't it? Pardon me?
Having accessible liquor is important to you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be hard for me today, I can tell. So, look, it's the second biggest government in Canada. It's got a budget of $125 billion and a debt about twice that. It is a government that is accountable to 40% of the population of Canada. It's the second biggest government. So, Ottawa gets all the attention, but the action, trust me, really is at Queen's Park. The mystery is, and something I hope to talk about today with this expert panel, is why are people so oblivious to what happens at Queen's Park? Look, I'd like to hear what they have to say. I also want to hear what your secrets are as to how to get young people interested, because if I can figure that out, it might help save the newspaper industry, and I'd like to learn whatever I can about getting young people interested and engaged. I just want to say briefly that this is a personal passion for me, getting out the vote. I was overseas for about 10 years for the Star as a foreign correspondent, and I was based in the Middle East and in Asia, and these countries are in the news, as you know, in Egypt, in Algeria, in Tunisia, Yemen, Bahrain, Iran, Iraq. These are places where people are dying, literally dying, to cast a vote. And so when I come back here, and as Robin was saying quite eloquently a few moments ago, and you see participation rates in the 50s provincially, even lower municipally, it makes me want to cry. But I think just wringing my hands and wagging a finger, you know well enough, doesn't work with students. So you can't lecture and hector people about finishing their food because there are people hungry in China. You know, you can't try that argument. We need to get people motivated. So that's the challenge. That's why we have some big guns on our panel, to give you some ammunition.